Okay, it's time to answer your guys' questions. Quite a few were submitted. I'm really excited to get into it, so here we go. Okay, first question. How has your taste in books changed as you got older? Great question. My taste has definitely changed, although I'd say I still love supernatural, paranormal elements in my books and in my stories, and I always have liked stories that had a bit of a darker through line, not too dark. I don't like to be bummed out, but I do like things to get a little creepy. I think the biggest difference, though, from when I was younger to now is I used to read a lot of high fantasy. And now I still like fantastical elements, but I'd say I like them more overlaid over how our world is. So I love it being this world, but then just something extra, like magical, creepy, spooky, as opposed to like complete high fantasy and out there. And that is very much what my book is like. It's based in this world. It's based in the Pacific Northwest, but it's in a town where very special and unusual things happen. So okay, what's the first step to writing a book? Great question. I think this comes down to two different things. One is in terms of getting the right idea and the right inspiration, but I believe I was asked about my inspiration for Prey in a different question, so I'll talk about inspiration then. The other part is your outline. And I know not everyone is an outliner. I'm an outliner, so this is integral to my process. But when I went from just normal outlining to using a 3-act structure outline, it made a world of difference in my writing process. And it took me from writing these stories that I never was able to finish, they never saw the light of day, to having this story that has now gone through several drafts, and I'm in the publication process, and I'm so excited to get this story out into the world and have it be as real for everyone else as it is for me. So I would say that 3-act outline structure and getting your ideas organized in that structure is pivotal to starting your book. Who do you take inspiration from that's a writer? Oh my gosh, okay, there are a lot, and most of them come from when I was a child that really impacted me and inspired me to be an author. So I would say Garth Nix, author of the Sabriel series. I love Sabriel. It's probably my favorite book of all time. I love the way that he's able to send chills down your spine without being over the top in the horror department and like the gore and graphic department. Just masterful. Love that book. L.J. Smith, I love how she can blend supernatural elements with adventure and also romance. I love Christopher Pike, especially the last vampire series. He has some other standalone horrors though that I also really like, but I think the characters and the layered way, the way that he layered the story in that series, and it became something way grander than what you were expecting. I think that really affected me, and him affected Prey a lot. And then also like George Lucas, Joss Whedon, the Duffer Brothers. What made you want to write a book? Okay, this question goes hand in hand with another question that came in, which was, have you always wanted to be a writer or be an author? And the answer is yes, since I was a little kid. I think since I figured out what books were, I wanted to be an author and I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write books. I loved books. My nose was always buried in a book ever since I learned how to read. In fact, I think I learned how to read and write more quickly than my classmates because I was motivated to read more books and start writing books. And so some of my earliest memories are of me carrying this tiny little notebook around with lined paper in it that my mom gave to me at her work, and a pen, and I would just be, I'd be homesick that day from school, and I'd be at work with my mom, and I'd be on the stairs at her work halfway up them, and I'd be writing in my little notebook about how I was climbing Mount Everest and detailing what that was. Or I'd go to the Japanese garden in town and I'd be writing in the book how I was actually in Japan and at a tea ceremony. So I'd say I think I've always known that I wanted to be an author and a writer. It's been my probably number one passion as long as I can remember. And I love stories and I love storytelling. I love everything about the storytelling process. I love how impactful stories are. They've been impactful since the dawn of time. We've communicated and learned and bonded through stories and storytelling, and even to this day and age. And you think about all the different media and medium that we have for like storytelling. We have, not only books, audiobooks, all that whole realm, but we have movies and we have TV shows and video games and just word of mouth gossip. I mean, magazines, so much it revolves around a story, whether it's a true story, whether it's fiction, whether it's somewhere in between. we bond and learn. Our society, I think, moves forward through stories, and it inspires us all to be the people that we want to be. So that's why I want to write books and write stories. Is there romance in Prey? Yes. The answer to this question is yes and no. Yes, there is romance in Prey. Is Prey a romance novel? No, I'm sorry for all of my romance girlies out there, but there is plenty of romance in it. I would say that Prey has the same amount of romance as, Buffy or Stranger Things, Vampire Diaries. Like, it definitely has romance, and it has multiple romantic subplots, but the main story, it's about, I have a few characters who are on hero's journeys to be that I love a good hero's journey. I rewrote this book to have a hero's journey. Hero's journeys are so important to me. I think hero's journeys in books that are written with a feeling of hope at the end of them, or movies with a feeling of hope, it's what inspires us and inspires us to be better people, and reminds us that good can triumph over evil. So the hero's journey in Prey is the primary journey that everyone is on, and then secondary, but it plays into the main plot line in the hero's journeys are these romances. These romances are very vivid, very fun. There'll be a few shippable couples, more than a few shippable couples, I'm sure. There might even be some teams out there. So if you like romance, you like books that have adventure and suspense and supernatural and crime and dark academia and rock and roll and also romance. Yes, it does have romance in it, but it is not a romance novel per se. But I do think if you like romance novels, I think you will like it. I think there is more than enough romance in there for you. And I also want to say, guys, I have male beta readers and they've loved it so far. So don't feel like because I'm a female author, it precludes you from reading it. I think you'll really like the storyline. Is Prey based on a true story? Yes and no. So the story itself is fictional, but there are a lot of elements of it that have been inspired by real life. I mentioned in my previous video that every book in the series is based off of a real crime, a real true crime event that happened. So there's definitely one of those woven into the first book. Not only is there one woven in, but I had a theory about this particular killer who has been unmasked in recent years, and my theory ended up kind of being right, which is really cool. So I worked that into the book. Also, I had some creepy things happen to me when I was in law school that also got worked into the book, because sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. And also the university itself is heavily based off of my undergraduate. I went to Princeton, yay, so exciting, go Tigers. But Princeton does have a lot of fun mythology about it, so I did work that in. And yes, so some of the myths from Princeton, as well as a lot of like the building names, and also some of the buildings themselves really came from actual buildings on that campus, and the vibe of campus is very similar to what it felt like going to Princeton. So I love Princeton. I really wanted to work that experience into the story. And then also some of the people are based off of real people, from the villains to the rock stars. So make of that what you will. Yeah, but I think that there are enough real, true elements to make Prey, despite the fact that it is fiction and there are supernatural elements in it. I think there are enough real facts and I don't know, just like cool things from real life worked into the book to ground it in reality. And who knows, maybe something like this could happen, or maybe it has. Where did your inspiration for Prey come from? Okay, so this is what we were talking about earlier with the first step of writing and the inspiration. So as I mentioned in one of the previous responses as well, some of Prey was inspired by real life. And I think the really cool thing about Prey was it's the first book that I ever wrote or tried to write where the idea actually didn't come to me all at once. Usually I have these ideas that are pretty much already formed when they come to me. And Prey, it was like I was having nostalgia for this part of my life, and then I was having musings about this, and then I was, living a different experience. And I had all these different elements in my head that I couldn't really make sense of why my brain kept going to them. And then all of a sudden one night, I think I was on a walk with my dog and I was listening to music, and it was like they all just overlaid on top of each other and came together in this like coherent story. Prey has gone through several drafts, several rounds of development. I had years between the first draft and the second draft, so I really got to sit down with it, play around with a bunch of different ideas, throw a bunch of different things at the wall, see what stuck. And I did change a lot from the first draft to the rest of the book, but it just, how it came together and the idea that it is now, in the form that it is now, just feels very authentic and like exactly like the story that I wanted to write. And they always say to write what you want to read, and that's definitely what Prey is. So I really hope you like it. I know that's very vague, but yeah, it came from a combination of my mind, feelings of nostalgia, memories, random ideas, and a feeling for this place that ended up being Fells Hollow in Inverness University. And it was like I was having memories of experiences and of people that I didn't know, that I'd never met, that I hadn't lived before. And it just started unraveling, and it was so real. And like I said, I would put on my headphones, I would go for long walks, listen to very atmospheric, kind of moody music, and I would just let my brain, spin. And I would, as the songs played out, I would imagine scenes playing out, like against the soundtrack. And the music really helped inspire the action in Prey. And also I would, when it came, Prey is a nuanced and layered story. There's some mysteries in it. There are Easter eggs or things you can figure out. And to make sure that I hit all of those beats and everything made sense, I would put on the voice recorder, and as I drove to work, I would just put on the voice recorder and I would just talk out the plot line and just let it run. And then later I'd come back and I'd have to transcribe it, and oh my god, that took forever. But it was something that I had to do. It was part of my creative process, and I was working different jobs at the time. I was working at a different job, at something full-time that was not writing, and it was how I found time to do it. It was how I found time to create the storyline and to create this world and this mystery and this adventure, and make sure all the puzzle pieces came together, because a lot of puzzle pieces that had to come together to make the story work, which I think happens in books that have mysteries at the heart of them that the characters are uncovering. So inspiration for Prey came from kind of a bunch of different places, and my brain just one night put them all together in my head. And I kind of wonder if the man behind the curtain had that planned all along. What led you to choose the title Prey? I really like it. Very foreboding. Thank you. It is meant to be. This is actually the second question I got about the title, but it's basically the same question, so I'll address it together. Prey plays around with points of view, and the original idea for the story wanted to explore the difference between love, lust, and obsession, which I like to call it obsession/murder, and it plays around with psychology and states of mind and perhaps personality disorders, and the different types of watching and observing and hunting, and when that goes from acceptable and reciprocated to not welcome to threatening, dangerous, deadly. So there are multiple characters in Prey that are perhaps being watched and hunted and preyed upon, and there also might be a time in the story where the predators become preyed upon themselves. So I chose the title Prey to illustrate all these, multi-levels of being hunted, and being the hunter versus the huntee, and the game flipping and switching at various points in time. That's where the title came from. So, and then also the title for the series, The Inverness Chronicles, is because this university in this town, Fells Hollow, figures very prominently into the storyline, not only in the first 3 books, which the first 3 books of the 8-book series are a continuation of the same story. And then after that, they're all standalones until the last book, which brings all the characters back together to solve a mystery that has haunted all of them for years. But the university itself plays a very important role, as does the town Fells Hollow. But there's a factor about the university that ties to the main character of all the books, which hopefully you'll be able to guess. I don't know how many books in it's going to take, but I'm sure people will pick up after several, maybe after 4 or 5, on why the series is named after the university and not the town. There's a very important reason why. So there you go. I chose the name Inverness because the university was based off of Princeton, and I went to Princeton, and Inverness kind of sounds like Princeton, and then also I'm Scottish, and Inverness is this kind of like fantastical place. Like they talk about it in the book Outlander. It's like ethereal and just like shrouded in mist, like a lot of Scotland is, and magic, and that's what Fells Hollow and Inverness University are like. They're shrouded in mist and magic. So various explanations for names. I know I was only really asked about Prey, but there you go. I saved this question for last because this was the question I received the most, and I just get the most in general about Prey. I would love for Prey to come out around spooky season. To me, it is a spooky season book, not only because of its vibe, but also the action in Prey starts during spooky season. It starts with the last bonfire of the summer, which you can read if you go sign up for the mailing list at the website praybook.com. I will send you the full prologue and chapter 1. The prologue does not start at the end of summer, but it's the prologue. It's, starts a few years before. But when we really get into the meat of the action, it's at that last end of summer bonfire where the seasons are shifting, and it's going from summer into fall. And the feeling of fall, not only that shift in the seasons, but then also as we get further into the story, we're thrown right into Halloween, and we have this really fun event called Fellfest that Fells Hollow puts on for Halloween that has gone on for centuries. We might even go back to the original Fellfest at some point in the book. I'm not going to say how or why, but that time of the year, fall figures prominently into the story. And I think even as the story goes into other parts of the year, it still has a fall vibe. So to me, this is a fall spooky season book. That being said, this is my first time publishing a book. I know that the timeline can vary, and I'm doing all this for the first time, so I'm really, really hoping to line up my schedule and the publication process and everything that I need to do to get it ready for publication. I really want to get it out by spooky season. I can't make any guarantees though, because like I said, this is the first time I've done this. But definitely what will help get it out sooner is to spread the word about it. Like I was saying, spreading the word about Prey will definitely help it get out faster. I do have a full-time job as an attorney, and it does take up a lot of time. But if I know that I have people who are excited for Prey, want it to come out, I have, a good size amount of followers on Instagram, on YouTube, who have signed up for the website, then that makes me feel a little bit braver to start allocating more time toward Prey and toward the publication process. So honest to goodness, the more, if you want Prey to come out faster, please help spread the word about it, share, get your friends excited about it. And if I do like ARCs, I will post it, I'll announce it. It'll probably go out to the email list on the website first. So sign up there at praybook.com if you're interested in perhaps doing that. And just the faster we get the word out for Prey and get people excited, the faster it can come out, because the more I can spend time working on it. So that's just the honest answer there. But you guys, thank you so much to everybody who submitted a question. I really appreciate it. I have some other things I wanted to mention about Prey, some fun tidbits, information. I also really can talk more about the inspiration behind Prey. I try to keep it short and sweet to answer the question today in like a minute for the purpose of the story, like this format, but we can really dive deep into inspiration and how it comes together in your head, and then taking that inspiration, building it into a larger story, building it into a story that could be outlined using that 3-act structure, how to come up with things when you're blocked. I love the writer's process. I love the storytelling process and talking about it. So in particular, if anyone has any questions about storytelling and writing and what to do if you get stuck, or just any questions that come up along in the way of creating that story and creating, going from having an idea to creating like that cohesive like story that actually could be turned into a book, I'm happy to talk about that. I worked on mine for years. I'm really excited about what I came up with, but just in general, I loved answering these questions. This was super fun, so we'll do this again. I'll answer more questions about Prey and the writing process, and feel free in the meantime if you want to DM me questions or comment them. You can comment them on any of my posts on Instagram. You can also comment on YouTube. I'll definitely make more videos like this, and we'll chat more, and it'll be great. So thanks so much for participating and playing along, and I hope this was entertaining. And as Riley would say, never stop hunting the shadows, never stop chasing the night. And with that, I bid you adieu.